Welcome to today's episode of the Mindset Mentor podcast. I am your host, Rob Dial. If you have not yet done so, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss another podcast episode. And if you're out there and you love this podcast and many other videos are also on YouTube as well. We've been growing massively on YouTube, putting up 3 to 5 videos every single week. So if you want some extra tips and tricks to improve yourself, go ahead and follow me there. All you have to do is type in my name, Rob Dial, and it will pop up. Today, we're going to be talking about the psychology of money. Why? If I'm being honest, money messes with a lot of people. For me, I would say that money dominated my thoughts for like the first 32 years of my life, where obviously it wasn't like all I was thinking about all day long was only money, but it was like it dictated the way I thought about the world. It dictated the way I took actions in the world, everything that was happening to me. And, when you grow up and you don't have money, like we were, when I was younger, we didn't have any money. My mom applied for us to be on food stamps and was rejected because she had a car, and supposedly you can't have a car in food stamps for some reason. We didn't really take family vacations, any of those types of things. When you don't have it and you want life to be better, you automatically think, hey, if I make money, it will make my entire life better. The problem with that, though, is that a lot of us come from wanting to make money, wanting to improve and wanting to get better from a place of lack. And that's the wrong place to start. So I'm going to give you a lot of tips as far as how I've seen to change your own mindset and psychology around money to, number one, make you feel better about whether you do or do not have it. And number two, teach you how to actually make more of it from changing your mindset around it. And the way that I see money is I see money like energy. And to want more money automatically, when you want something, it automatically puts you in a place of lack. If I want something, I am in a place of lacking that thing. And it's going to be really hard to get whatever it is that you lack when you're lacking it and thinking about all of the lacking it, because more than anything else, you're actually closing yourself off to receiving it. And so we can dive. I'm going to go through a few different things here. I'm going to go through a little bit. It's going to get a little woo-woo-y with me, but it's also going to be very tactical and very analytical as well. Because if you're in the energy of lack, you will always lack. Whatever you focus on the most, you will get more of that thing. So if you focus on the fact that you don't have it and you want more, you will always be lacking it and always wanting more. So if you are in a place of lack, you are in a place of not being able to receive. So if you're the type of person that, you're scrolling on Instagram, you see somebody and they have a successful company and they have a nice car and maybe they're taking nice flights all over the world or whatever it is. And the first thought that pops in your head is, man, screw that person. Oh, look at them. They're wasting money. That money could be used for other things. Look at all of the pollution because of the fact that they're on these plane flights. And it immediately goes to jealousy or judging. That is the first indication that you are in the completely wrong frequency to be able to make money. Because you're jealous, and jealousy comes from a place of severe lack. And so if you're the type of person who just sees other people online and then judges them based off of what they're doing with their lives, what they're doing with their money, about how they are destroying the environment and how they're not donating enough money, and how if I had the money that they have, I wouldn't be doing the same things that they are. That judging and that jealousy comes from a severe place of lack. And if you continue to stay there, it's going to be really, really hard for you to create the life, the abundance, everything that you want in your own life. And so let's dive into it and let's talk much deeper about it. Now, think about this for a second. I always like to give this example to people because it really kind of makes them understand the way that they are around money. I'm going to give a completely different example. It's going to make a whole lot of sense, right? Let's say you have 2 different children. You have little boy who's child A and you have a little boy who's child B. And child A, they come up to you and they want a toy. You have a toy. You have a blue truck. And you give him this blue truck and he takes the blue truck and he's like, I don't really like the color blue. This isn't, my favorite color is red, but you're like, that's the only toy that I have. And they're like, all right, fine, I'll play with it. They take the toy truck and they go play with it, and they do what little boys do. They slam it into things and they scratch it up and they mess it up. And another little boy comes up and he's like, hey, can I play with your toy? And the boy that you give it to, child A, is like, no, this is my toy. You can't play with my toy. And, then dinner time and the child ends up leaving their toys all over the place, and they don't really seem to care. They weren't appreciative and they don't share it. And they're just leaving their crap all over the place. That's child A, right? Child B, let's say you give him a blue truck and he takes the blue truck and he says, oh, thank you. And he takes the blue truck and he plays with it and he has fun. He plays with his other toys with the blue truck. And then another little boy comes up and he's like, hey, can I play with your blue truck? And he's like, yeah, you can play with my blue truck. And he shares his blue truck and he lets him play with the blue truck. Then it's dinner time and the boy takes 2 minutes, takes all of his toys, puts them back to where they were. It makes it at least a little bit more clean than it was. Next time that you have a choice to give a toy to a child, would you rather give it to child A, who seemed like an unappreciative little crap, didn't take care of it, complained about it, didn't share it, didn't put it away, didn't take care of it the way that he could have? Or would you prefer to give it to the child who said thank you, who shared it, who appreciated it, who put it away the way that he should have when he was done with it? Which one would you rather give it to? You'd rather give it to child B, right? Why? Because they took care of it. They were grateful for it. They shared it. They, put it where it was supposed to go and put it away when they were done. So let's flip that toy example into the way somebody receives money. Are you more like child A or child B when you're receiving money? So let me give you an example. When you get your paycheck, do you look at your paycheck and you're like, oh, damn it, it's not enough. I'm still not making as much as I want to. And then you see somebody who you could donate money to and you're like, I don't have enough. I'm not going to donate any money to them. You don't budget it. You don't pay attention to it. You don't take care of it. You're not grateful for it. Are you that type of person? Because if God or the universe or any of that exists, a higher power, and they have this opportunity to flow energy into you, flow money into you, are you more like child A, who's kind of a shitty little kid, if we're being honest, or child B, who takes care of it, who's grateful for it, who says thank you for it, who shares it? Which one are you more like? So think about this. If you're more likely to give a toy to child B because they say thank you, because they are grateful, because they share, because they take care of it, if the higher power that might exist out there has an option to give you money or someone else money, are you being more like child A or are you being more like child B? It's really important to think of. How do you receive money? How do you think about money? What is the frequency of money to you? How do you feel when you look into your bank account? Do you budget your money? Do you know where it's going? Are you taking care of it? Are you sharing it? Usually when I say this to people, they're like, oh, light bulb, holy shit. I've been kind of like a crappy little kid with my money. Why would anybody want to give me more? Because I'm not taking care of it. And so, when you receive your paycheck, are you like, oh, damn it, bills again. I'm not going to have as much as I want to. I'm going to be able to pay my bills, but God, I wish I was making more. I wish I had more in my bank account. I wish I was doing something different with my life. I fucking hate my job and this is what I'm getting paid for. How do you receive your paycheck? Think about that for a second. What is the energy of receiving your paycheck for you? How do you feel when you look at your bank account? I'll give you another example to kind of think about the energy that you're in. When you go and you're walking down the street and you happen to see a penny, 5 cents, 10 cents, whatever it is on the side of the road, do you just walk by it? Or do you pick it up and put it in your pocket? I remember hearing this years ago, and it changed the way that I started perceiving and also receiving money. So I used to just walk over money. But think about this, for instance. If the universe, God, is going to give you 5 cents and put it as an option there on the floor, you might be like, oh, but it's dirty. Are you just going to walk over it and just let it go? Or are you going to pick it up, put it in your pocket, and say thank you? Because here's one thing I'll tell you. I'm going to say this a couple of times throughout this episode. If you cannot be trusted with a little, you will not be trusted with a lot. And so if you're going to walk over and be like, oh, it's not worth it for me to pick that up. Why would it be worth it for, if you don't even want that little amount, why would a higher power want to give you any more? Think about that for a second. Do you stop? Do you pick it up? Do you say thank you? One of the things that I learned years ago, I started doing this about 5 years ago, is every time that my company gets a payment inside, I rarely get notifications on my phone, but every single time that my company gets a payment in some sort of way, my Stripe and my PayPal, both of those things set off, and I know that a payment just went into my company's bank account. And if I see it, if I'm in the middle of doing something and I'm just sitting there and I see it go off, as soon as it comes in, it could be for a couple $1,000, it could be for $47, whatever it is. I take 4 or 5 seconds, close my eyes, say thank you, and go on about my day. Because it's me being trusted with a little. It's me being trusted with a little bit more. And I'm in the energy of I want to receive and be thankful for everything, no matter what it is. Even if it's $3 that come into the account. If I can't be grateful for $3, I can't be grateful for $3,000. What if all of this money thing and the way that we view it was just a test from the universe to see how you respond to it? I'll give you another example that really changed a lot for me. When you see someone that's on the side of the road, homeless, whatever they might be, do you ever give them money? Or are you the type of person who's like, well, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with that money, so I don't want to give them money because I don't want them to go buy drugs. I don't want them to buy alcohol, any of that stuff. What do? Think about that for a second. What is it that you do? What is your typical response whenever you're around somebody who has less than you? The one thing that I decided to do years ago when I really felt like I was in a place of lack as far as money goes, and what I did is I forced myself to actually give 21s out to 20 different people. And what I realized is I went from a place of feeling like severe lack to actually starting to feel like, man, I've got more than I need. Because I think that subconsciously, if I'm in a place of lack and then I take and my brain can see the transfer of $1 from myself to someone else's hands, and I still think in my head, man, I can still pay my bills. I can still eat. I can still take care of myself. Therefore, I must come from a place of abundance. Because all too often, all of us have a scarcity mindset in some way. I don't have enough. I can't share it. I gotta hoard it because what if something happens in the future? If we come from a place of scarcity, we will only create more scarcity. If we come from a place of abundance, we will only create more abundance. And so what I started doing is I made it years ago a practice just to give out, whenever I'd run out of money inside of my car, I would go out and get $20 more, and then $20 more, and $20 more, all in one, so I could just hand it to people. And I think I started brainwashing myself to actually going from a place of I don't have enough to look at that. I just gave some to somebody and I can still pay my bills. I can still eat, which means that I must come from a place of abundance. I must have so much abundance in my life that I can give to somebody else and still be able to take care of myself. Because that's what abundance means, right? Not just paying the bills, but having a little bit more. Not having millions of dollars more, but just having a little bit more. And so how can I start to brainwash into my subconscious that I am not completely broke? I might have a couple extra dollars, that I do come from a place of abundance. Because if I focus on scarcity, I'll get more scarcity. If I focus on abundance, I will get more abundance. And so a lot of people are like, well, I don't have enough money to donate though. Like once I become a millionaire, then I'll start donating money. Once I become a millionaire, then I'll start taking care of people. Once I become a millionaire, then I'll start doing this. I had a really good, super successful mentor of mine that is a hardcore philanthropist as well. So tons and tons and tons of money donated. His goal in life is to donate $100 million before he dies. And he says, if you won't donate $1 from $10, you won't donate $100,000 from $1 million. So becoming somebody who donates and who gives doesn't start when you are successful. It is actually something that you start on the journey to becoming successful, on the journey to becoming abundant. And so if you take that and you realize, okay, this guy's goal is to donate $100 million in his lifetime. He's currently, as of right now, recording this, worth over $100 million himself. And his goal is to be able to donate, by the time he dies, $100 million. And he said, if you won't donate $1 from 10, you won't donate 100,000 from $1 million. But if you can't be trusted with a little, there's no way that you're going to be trusted with a lot. And so what is your perception around all of these things? What is your perception about how you receive your paycheck? What is your perception and your feelings about how you look at your bank account, how you feel when you think about your bank account? What is your perception of if you are more like child A or if you are more like child B? What is your perception of if you see money on the ground? What is your perception of people who are on the side of the road or people who are sitting there that could receive money from you? But are you coming from a place of scarcity and going, well, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with it? Because here's the thing, we never make money. You don't make money. We receive money from other people, from companies, from other people, from everything that we do. It's just an energy exchange in everything that we do. So we never make money and we never own money. It just comes into us and then out of us and into us and out of us. Just like food. You eat food, it goes out of you. You eat food, it goes out of you. You have money in your bank account, the money goes out of your bank account. You have money in your bank account, your money goes out of your bank account. It's just a flow of energy in some sort of way. And once you start to realize that money is energy and you stop putting the importance of it, so much importance on it, which I did for a really long time, but you realize it can create experiences. It could create experiences for yourself, for other people. You can give it to other people. You can provide for other people, and you can come from a place of abundance and not from a place of scarcity. You start changing the way that your perception, the way that you perceive money, and you can actually start perceiving differently, which means that you can also start receiving differently as well. So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please share it on your Instagram stories and tag me at Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. And I'm going to leave it the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make someone else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. Welcome to today's episode of the Mindset Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Dial. If you have not yet done so, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode of this podcast. This is a replay of an episode that I did with my wife just over a year ago, where we actually talk about love. And seeing that it is Valentine's Day today when this comes out, I thought it'd be really good for us to talk about love. And my wife, Lauren, and I, we talk about, our own personal definitions of what love is. We talk about in this episode the difference of what love is versus being in love. So like what it's like to love somebody versus being in love with somebody. We talk about the journey that we have both been on, especially Lauren, and her self-love journey, where she used to have a really negative self-talk, and how she learned to love herself more and accept herself more, and how that changed many aspects of herself and her world. We also talk about vulnerability in a relationship, how to break down emotional walls, and also how to have empathy and understanding for other people and to be able to love other people, even people that you're not in a romantic relationship with, and how to have empathy and understanding for other people as well, and how to love other people, even ones that you're not in a romantic relationship with. And then last, we talk about how to encourage your partner to grow and to evolve and to become better so that you can both grow and evolve in your relationship as well. So in this special Valentine's Day, this is the episode of What is Love with my wife, Lauren. Hope you enjoy it. I have a special guest with me back for round two. I have my wife, Lauren, who's going to be with me today. And we're going to be talking about what is love. This is it's going to be a deep conversation. And Lauren and I are going to give our perspectives, which feel right for us, but doesn't mean that it's internationally right for every single person.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it is the answer. It's just ours from where we're currently standing.
Sure. Yeah. And so Lauren, welcome to the podcast again. Nice to see you.
Thanks.
We're recording this on the same day. So we're in the same clothes for those of you guys that are watching us on YouTube.
Yeah.
We're wearing the same thing because it's the same day. But we're going to talk about love. And this is a topic that I think is really good to dive into. And I could talk about it by myself, but it makes a lot more sense if I have my wife, who I've been with for over 10 years, who has helped me get better at discovering and figuring out what love is.
I love love. And
Lauren loves love. And so we entered into the relationship with completely different experiences of life. And so let's start off with you. When you think about love, I want you to share yours. And I know that your dad used to ask you a question when you used to go to bed every single night. So if you could share that with the audience, and we could start off there.
Yeah, I think this is something so sweet and special that my dad started when I couldn't even tell you how old I was, but it was just a ritual that started every single night. Before I went to bed, he would tuck me in and he would say, "What does love mean?" Mm-hmm. And I would come up with whatever I thought love meant that day. Love means, making breakfast with your family. Love means giving, your friend a hug, or whatever, came to mind for me that day. But it was really cute because every night, that was the question he would ask me. Yeah.
And so coming from that, when you first came into our relationship, what was your view on love? What did you think that it was? What is love? What was love at that point in time for you?
Yeah. I feel like I have been really fortunate to come from a childhood and a background where love was very abundant. I mean, like everybody gave and showed love very freely. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and so I had her with me at all times, and she was like my best friend growing up. I remember like in high school, we went on a girls trip and my mom was the only mom that couldn't come, and I legitimately cried at the airport saying bye to my mom, and like I was a teenage girl, you know. God. I was probably like 16 or 17. But yeah, like just I loved my parents loved me. I had 2 little sisters, and we all just, I mean, yeah, my experience of, I'm super grateful and very blessed with how loving of a background I was brought up in.
Mm-hmm. And so my perspective was definitely different with my dad not being around and my father being an alcoholic. And so I never felt like I wasn't loved, but I would say that, you know, it was definitely a different perspective that we both brought into the relationship. And I want to talk about and share our perspectives now that we're in this relationship. And we had a conversation a couple months ago, and we were talking about a friend in a relationship, and you said, you know, oh yeah, but she really loves him. Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah, but is she in love with him? Mm-hmm. And then we had this deep conversation about what's the difference between love, like loving somebody, versus being in love with somebody. And so I gave you my definition, and I don't think you gave me your definition because I think we arrived at home and then we went on to something else. Yeah. So I'll give my definition in a second, but what do you think from your perspective is the difference between loving somebody and being in love with somebody?
Yeah. So I feel like I have love for other people. You know, I really care about them. They mean a lot to me. I will genuinely love a lot of my friends, you know, pretty quickly. Like I just appreciate and have gratitude for these people, and I love them. Mm-hmm. To me, being in love is a little bit different because, and again, I think this is like where I stand right now, because this is always evolving and changing. But as I was thinking about it, to me, it's somebody that you can be completely vulnerable with and feel safe to be your full self around. You don't have to edit yourself in any way. And you want to have every experience of life with this person. What I mean by that is like, there's friends that I really like to go to, you know, to travel with, or there's friends that I like to do podcasts with, or there's friends that I want to just go shopping with, right? Like there's different people for different things. And I love them. But then there's also times where like, I don't necessarily want to be around that person, not because there's anything wrong with them, but it's, there's just, you know, there's something there that like, maybe I don't feel safe opening up to them about certain things or maybe doing certain things. But when you're in love with somebody, I feel like you're in such a state of being your true self that you want more from your experience with them, and you want to experience everything with them, not only just like being together and showing them love, but like passion, and even whether it's like intimately or sexually, like you want that with them too, right? Because I don't want that with everybody. But being in love with somebody, that's such a beautiful part of the human experience, is the intimacy. And that I feel like is another added component of being in love with someone. That's something else you want to experience with them.
Yeah, I would agree with you on a lot of that. And the thing that I had said to you that has over the past couple of months kind of matured in my mind, if I've started to get deeper into it, is I think that there's definitely a lot of people that I love. But I think when you're in love with somebody, I think there's an aspect of realizing that there are parts of myself from childhood, from growing up, from other relationships and heartbreaks that has not been fully healed. And you make me feel safe enough to be able to work on those things with you. And I think that that's what I've come to realize, is that I think that, and we were in LA last week, and I was on Matthew Hussey's podcast, and he, you know, has a podcast called Love Life, and he is a dating coach and stuff. And we were talking about this, and I said, I think that one of the highest reasons for being in a relationship with somebody is I'm working on myself. I'm trying to love and accept myself even more and trying to become a more evolved version of myself. But I think that there's still some aspects of myself for most people where I can, like, when someone's working on self-love, like they can get, if they're working really hard, like 95% there. But there's still about 5% where it's like, yeah, but if they only knew how whatever I am, then maybe they won't accept me. And so a lot of people don't get fully, truly vulnerable with somebody,
right?
Because they think, if she only knew this about me, she wouldn't want to be with me. If he only knew this about me. So they open up almost fully, but they don't fully open up.
Yeah.
I think when you're like truly fully in love with somebody is when you can say, here's all of me, and I feel safe to be vulnerable. Because vulnerable, if you look at the actual root word of the word vulnerable, it's vonerar, which means in Greek, to be injured. So like open to be injured in some sort of way.
Yeah.
I think it's about like, even if you're somebody who's working hardcore on yourself, of loving yourself, to accepting yourself, you'll get like 95% there. And sometimes we need to see somebody else accept all of us and still love us for us to be able to go, yeah, maybe I can love that extra 5% of myself.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes just having that person reflect love for who we are and accept us and not try to change us, that person, and it's one of the highest senses of what we can be in a relationship for, is that person can help us heal ourselves by showing us what it looks like to accept and love ourselves.
What a relief it is when you can be that vulnerable and have it met with love by somebody that you really care about. Like, that feels so good. And I think that's where the healing starts to happen, is because if, like, for me, when there's been times where I'm like, oh, this is the not cute, real part of me that, like, just hoping for the best, but like, I'm going to just go into this and be fully transparent, fully vulnerable. And you meet that with love. I really believe in everything that you have feedback on, right? Like, I value your opinion. And so when you give me feedback that's in alignment with love for something that I was judging within myself, it's like, oh my God, it gives you just like such a different perspective. And then you can feel so much relief in that. And I think that's what gets you back to that state where you are more in alignment with your true self, which I think we're all love. I think the true version of all of ourselves is so much more in alignment with love. So then it puts you into that state of being in love.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I think that, I have come to realize that Hollywood has really screwed up a lot of things for a lot of people, is because I think that we confuse love with lust, like sweep me off my feet and I'm head over heels and like, you complete me. And I personally, this is my opinion, don't believe that any other person completes another person. I think that we have to complete ourselves.
Yeah.
And then we try to bring, so I don't see it as like, I'm 50% me and Lauren's 50% her. And together we make 100% of a great relationship. The way I see it is like, I'm 100% working on myself and trying to get to 100% of potential of Rob and healed Rob.
Yeah.
Lauren's working on herself to be 100% of healed Lauren, the best version of herself. And we both bring the best version of ourselves to the relationship, because I think a lot of times people get into relationships looking for somebody to fill a void versus just saying like, hey, I'm going to show up as the best version of myself and bring that to the relationship. It's almost like when you look at some people's attachment styles, is they attach to somebody else because of the fact that they're looking for that person to complete a part of them that doesn't feel whole or feels like there's a void in some sort of way.
Yeah. And it just puts so much pressure and expectation on someone else to be something.
Right.
Relationships are already hard enough.
Yeah. And I think when you look at the phrase like in love, like I've heard people, I heard a coach that I follow say this before, and he was saying, someone asked him like, hey, how you been? And he's like, I'm in love. And they're like, oh, with who? And he's like, I'm not in love with anybody.
Yeah.
I'm in a state of love. And so what I think it is that when you're with somebody who you are in love with, is they bring out a state of you that exists inside of you that's been there forever, that might just have been dormant for a very long time. And they make you realize that you don't have to have your walls up. You don't have to feel unsafe. You don't have to feel like there's something wrong with you, but we can be in a state of love together. And anybody, I think, can bring out love for you. And you don't have to be like, I'm in love with you, but I can be in a state of love and try to bring that love to anyone that I go and I meet. But being with you and seeing you accept me and me accepting myself through you accepting me too, makes me go, you know what? What if I'm just in a state of love more? And when I go and the cashier asks me how my day's doing, I try to bring that state of love to try to impact him or her, not so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in love with him, but it's like, I just want to bring a state of love to them, which maybe impacts them and changes their day in some sort of way, and they can bring it to another person.
Yeah. I mean, how amazing is that?
Yeah, it's quite amazing.
That's sweet. Yeah.
I'm curious your thoughts on it. The thoughts on being vulnerable, because this is something that we've worked on together, where I had trouble with being vulnerable. You definitely had trouble with being vulnerable, but my even more trouble with being vulnerable made you have more trouble with being vulnerable. So I'm curious your thoughts on, how it's progressed for you, how it's changed through our relationship, with the aspect of just being able to be truly vulnerable with me.
It's interesting because I think, again, we talk about like coming back to like our true selves and being in love, and my natural self is much more open. And I think that because you were having a little bit of a hard time with fully opening up to the way I express love, when we first got together, I started pumping the brakes a little bit. And I started to create an idea in my mind of how you wanted me to be. And of course, I wanted to be in alignment with that. Yeah. So I started to withhold love. And that creates a lot of issues on two levels. Number one, I'm withholding love from this person that I care about, which is limiting your experience of me. And also, it's just not natural for me to be that way. And so when I realized that was happening, it was a huge shift for us in our relationship, because I could tell there was like a wall building. But at that point in time, I didn't have like a whole lot of self-awareness. I just felt like there was just something blocking us. Right. And it's like we had gotten to this like capacity, which I knew it was possible for there to be more. I knew there was more out there for us, but the level of vulnerability, it just wasn't there. Right. So once that was brought to our attention, I think that was actually... Was that through John when we went and did the therapy? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that I actually became more conscious of the fact that I was actually withholding love. Right. I thought that I was just being who you wanted me to be. And I also, I wasn't aware of how much I was actually holding back until that point in time. Yeah, and I remember him saying, he was like, and for those of you guys that, John was a therapist that we saw together about 2.5 years into our relationship. Yeah. And me having less capacity at that point in time to be vulnerable and not really knowing as much about what love was or feeling it as much, you kind of met me where I was versus being in your natural state. Right. It was that you were actually meeting me where I was and you weren't giving more. Yeah. And one of the things that he had said is Rob, it's your job is to try to open up a little bit more in the relationship and to try to be more open, allow yourself to be more open. And Lauren, you need to teach him how to love. That changed everything. He's like, you're actually the teacher. And I was like, oh, okay. And I had never seen it that way before. So that was a huge eye opener and a really good perspective to understand what was going on. And how do you think that shifted things for you and then also shifted things in our relationship? Oh, it was like huge, because I started to understand, obviously my understanding of everything got so much more clear, and I took my role very seriously because I cared about you. And also I was able to, they had like a new window into why you were the way you were. It wasn't just because initially I think I probably had the perception like, I'm not good enough for this. Right. He's withholding something from me because I'm not enough. Right. Was the initial story I kind of formulated from that. But then having the understanding of, okay, Rob is the way he is because of what he experienced. And it's not that he's withholding, he needs to learn. Like he just doesn't have the context or the background to be where you are with love. And I was like, oh my God, I just had never realized that. And so once I understood the assignment, I knew exactly what I needed to do. And I can't say I stepped into it like right away. It took me a little bit of time to... It took you a while to feel safe to give me more love. Right. Like a while. It wasn't like a week or two. It was like slowly over years. I had a better understanding, but then it did take me some time to really feel safe to... I guess it was like I was still a little bit afraid that it wasn't going to be reciprocated. Yeah. And for whatever reason, that was important for me at that point. Yeah. And that's a really important part, which is that I want everyone to kind of know is that if you're not conscious of the stories going on in your head,
you're never really in a full relationship with somebody. You're in a relationship that the image of them, you're in a relationship with the image that you've built of them in your head.
Yeah.
And in fact, you're not even fully in a relationship with that image. You're in a relationship with the image of yourself that you've built in your head. And so that might not make any sense, and I'll give people context of exactly what I mean. So there might be something where it's like, we've all done this before. It's like, I want to say something, right? But if I say this, she's going to say this back to me. And then I'm going to say this to her. And then it's going to turn into this thing. And we basically make an entire story in our head.
Yeah.
And it's not that I am in relation with you. I'm making a image of me in my head of how I'm going to react. I'm making an image of you of how you're going to react. And I'm making a whole story of how those two images are going to react versus actually just coming to you and being a certain way. And so you were thinking probably, and you can let me know if I'm incorrect, is like, okay, consciously, yes, I want to open myself up and I want to show Rob more love. I want to be more vulnerable with him. But if I do, well, he's probably not going to fully open up back to me. And if he doesn't fully open back to me, then I'm going to be the one that's going to get hurt. And if I'm the one that's going to get hurt, then I'm going to act this way and I might say this thing to him. And so literally, in reality, might be sitting there like, hey, I'm over here. And I might just be hanging out, working, doing whatever it is. But there's a whole story that's going on in your head that's actually getting in the way of us as two humans connecting.
Yeah, it was totally me going into protection mode because I wasn't allowing myself to be just, my true self, which is so much more loving.
I think another key part of that that's really important too is, I've heard people say, and we've talked about it many times, like, I'm into working on myself. I'm into personal development, and this person I'm in a relationship with is not.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think I've come to terms with the most as of recently is someone doesn't have to have the same interests as you, but what the most important aspect is that they are putting in the effort to, if there is a problem, they're putting in actual effort to try to overcome that problem together with you. And I think that's one thing that shifted a lot for our relationship is that whenever there was something that came up, I think we've both brought it up to each other. We've gotten better at communicating, of course.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, as we both started working on each other, like we started working on ourselves.
Yeah.
I feel like the relationship got a whole lot easier because we realized that it's almost never the other person's fault. It's usually our reaction to that person that ends up being their fault.
Yeah, it's highlighting something within you. Yeah, I think everything shifted once I started working on myself more because you'd been working on yourself for some time before I really started to dive deeper into my own growth. And it does change everything for the relationship because you can only really love someone to the extent that you're loving yourself.
Yeah, sure. And I think that one of the things that's important too, and I'd love to hear your perspective on this, is when we're talking about building the image of somebody in your head and what's going to happen and the whole thing, one of the things that I found with you that really shifted was you started working yourself to get out of your head so much and more into your heart. So you started actually like being like, well, I want to get into my heart. I want to get into my body. I want to start to feel things. And you 3-4 years ago used to say like you never told me how mean you were to yourself in your head. And then became real. You're like, I'm going to tell you. And you started telling me, I was like, damn, you suck in your head to yourself. Like you were just such an asshole. And then you started going on this journey of like self-love.
Yep.
And you started working on yourself. And I actually, now that we're speaking about it, I don't know, we've never actually spoken this. I think our relationship became better as you actually started working on loving yourself more.
Right.
What did that journey look like for you, for people who are out there that are struggling with self-love or they are too negative to themselves in their heads?
Yeah. Well, I think what ended up kicking all of that off was one day you asked me, you were like, are you happy? And I was like, no. And it wasn't because of anything that was going on around me or within our relationship. It had everything to do with my self-talk. And then I finally decided to say out loud all of the things that I was saying to myself in my head. And it started the moment I woke up. And I would just start my routine of just shit talking to myself. And of course I was not happy because the things I was saying were horrible. And so once
what would you say to yourself?
Oh, I'd be like, okay, well, here you are not getting up again on time because you're just so lazy and you have nothing to get up for anyway. So like, you don't have any purpose. And of course you don't have any purpose because you're stupid. right? And so it was like just this endless thing, like, oh, well, of course you're running late because you can't get your shit together enough. And, oh, look at you. Are you breaking out again? Because you're ugly and you're gross. Like, I mean, I was horrible to myself. It was like every single thing that I would say. And at that time, you know, I was physically manifesting all kinds of crazy stuff, right? Like I was breaking out so bad. So it's like everything that I was feeling on the inside was coming out on the outside
and stuff.
Yeah, I had eczema. I had a whole, I mean, for me, it showed up with a bunch of different skin issues, and I was really struggling. And the more I started to like physically manifest all of these skin issues, of course, like the more gross I would feel. And then it was a cycle. And so, you know, I was doing everything skincare wise, and I became obsessed. And then one common thread whenever I was reading and trying to figure out what to do for my skin was always like remove stress, anxiety, and you need to just care for yourself, you know, self-care. And then that's like a combination of that. And then you also asking me if I was happy. I was like, you know, what's the emotional side of everything that I haven't tackled? Like, I'm just being such an asshole to myself. And so saying out loud what I was saying to myself in my head really made me more conscious of everything. And I was like, this is disgusting, because I would never say those things to anybody else. So why the hell was I saying it to myself?
Yeah.
And then from there, I just was really consciously shifting the things that I would say. And
what did that look like? So like for someone else who's like not good with self-love, like what was the practice like when you would notice that pop up? Did you have something that you would do or go back to? I would
have to switch it. Whatever I said about if I said something mean, I would have to say something nice. And I also worked really hard at reprogramming. So I got mala beads, and I would just Google like, what is a self-love mantra? And I sat there with my mala beads, and if I even for one bead felt like I became unconscious and was just going through the motions, I would go back and re-say that mantra and be very present with every single bead, so that every day I was reprogramming what I was saying to myself. And that was my ritual in the morning every single day. And then what ended up happening is I remember one day I was making the bed, and I randomly said something all I said to myself out of nowhere was, Lauren, you're so awesome. And I was like, holy shit, like this is not something old Lauren would have said. And I didn't have like a real good reason for like feeling like I was super awesome. I mean, I was literally just making the bed, but it was then that I knew I had finally created a change in myself, because I said something nice for no reason.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I think it's, that's a big piece of like getting out of your head and getting into your heart, because I don't think your true self, there's like our true self, which is who we come into this world as. And there's our conditioned self, which is who we've built ourselves into being based off of all the programmings and patterns and what our parents want us to be and what society wants us to be and what beliefs say to us. And we reprogram ourselves, and we accidentally program ourselves. And basically what it comes down to is you were in your head so much, you're like, I'm going to get into my heart. And your heart, if you ever get into your heart, your heart's not an assole. Right?
No,
your head's the asshole, right?
Oh, for sure.
Or it can be the asshole depending on who you are and how you were raised. And you kind of got a little bit more into your heart, and I think that actually shifted a lot of stuff for you, because I think that now that we're talking about it, I think that a lot of times, like, because of the fact that you were so mean to yourself, there wasn't like an underlying agitation that was always there.
Oh, for sure.
And that would kind of show up in our relationship, where it would be like you'd be very short fused and you'd want to blow up about something. Or you would make a story about something. And so actually, I think that it actually shifted a lot in our relationship when you started shifting your internal story within yourself.
Right.
And I think that it comes back to when we talk about love and we talk about acceptance, is what I have found with most people is that what we're usually searching for in the external world is actually what we're searching for in ourselves. And so if someone's sitting out there like, well, I want someone to love me, or I want my husband to accept me, or I want my girlfriend to accept me more. Sure, that's a piece of it. But there's also a difference of going, okay, what do I want from them? I want them to accept me more. Do I accept myself? Yeah, I accept myself. Okay, do I accept all aspects of myself? Ooh, shit, maybe I don't. Do I love myself? Oh, fuck, I don't know if I do. I think I do. Maybe I do. And so it's really about going, okay, if I can actually learn to love and accept myself more for all aspects of who I am, the good sides of me and the quote unquote bad sides of me, and I can go, I'm just going to love and accept all of it. You don't even have to love all of it, just accept all of it. Because what I believe is that we have built ourselves into being who we think we need to be in order to survive, in order to fit in order to be what we're supposed to be in society, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. And in turn, what we do is we build ourselves into a kind of a different person than we truly are. Right. And I think that the problem with self-love is that, and the reason why it's so hard is because our true self doesn't accept our conditioned self. And if you can't accept something, you can't truly love it. And I think that the true state of a human is love.
Oh, yeah.
But we get in our own way because there's aspects of ourself that we don't like and we don't accept. Yeah. And so I think what's really important is if we truly do want to love somebody, then we truly actually need to figure out a way to love ourselves, because we can't give anything that we don't have.
Yeah. And I think it's also a process of just getting out of your head and into your heart with practices. I mean, a huge thing that helped me even with like anxiety and everything, just dealing, was getting out of my head through heart math, which is just basically a combination of breathing and focus and connecting with your body and how you feel. And when you can do that, you're connecting with what's real instead of these thoughts and stories that have accumulated over time.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you're in your head, you're almost never here, like physically here.
Like not present.
Right. You're not present. You're in the future, you're in the past, you're in a story that you've made up. But the only thing that's actually physically here in this present moment is your body. And so if you ever want to come back and be present, you can always go back to the body. Another aspect that I think is important as far as love goes is I think that many people love their significant other the way that they were loved by their parents. Yeah. And that's all good and dandy, except for I have found from coaching thousands of people that most people are unconsciously trained by their parents to be what they want, the parent wants them to be, by retracting love when they don't act the way that they want them to act. And so I think what happens with a lot of people is they get into a relationship with somebody and they want that person to be different. And they want to change that person into what they want them to be, versus saying, I accept you as you are, whatever it is that you want to be. And once again, we're not perfect in any sort of way at all. But I think one thing that we have done really well in our relationship with is we've never actually really tried to change each other.
Yeah. No. And I think that that's also like kind of to what we're saying. It's the product of us not looking for what we need internally from each other, because we're both conscious that we need to provide that to ourselves. And so I don't need to make you anything but what you are, because I'm already giving myself everything that I need. Yeah. Right. Like that's what we're working towards anyway.
Right. Yeah. And like when I first started the podcast, I had the idea for the podcast in 2015. And I told you in Jason's Deli, like I remember the exact moment.
Me too.
You wouldn't be like, you were like, okay, cool. And podcasts were like nothing back then. Like there were some podcasts, but it wasn't like it is now. Like they weren't all over the place like they are. Right. And I was like, I'm gonna start a podcast. And you're like, cool. But I've been in relationships before where I've been like, hey, I'm gonna start a podcast. And they'd be like, why? That's dumb. That's a waste of your time. That's a waste. You're not gonna make any money. Like, and people immediately go to bashing that thing. And I think that's one thing that we've done really well. You have an interest for painting. So I've been like, you know what? I'm gonna buy her painting supplies and try to help her get better at painting. And so I think that's one really big piece of being in love with somebody, is seeing them as they are. Right. As a human who, if they're an adult, they're really just a child that isn't fully healed from childhood and from traumas. Yeah. And saying they're just a child that's wounded, that needs some help, that needs some love, that needs some acceptance in an adult's body. And they have interests and they have things they want to do. And I'm going to try my best to accept them as they are and try to help them with whatever it is that needs to be healed by just holding them in a space of acceptance no matter what. Right.
Something that somebody said once that really helped me with this is to fully understand that everybody's doing the best with what they have, or doing the best they can. Yeah. So I think that that's also important, because we can have really big expectations for what we think somebody should be doing, but that's of course from your perspective. Yeah. And you're coming from a completely different background, set of experiences than someone else. And so to expect that from somebody else it's not fair. Yeah. And if you can truly lean into the loving side of yourself, you will believe that everybody is doing the best that they can. Why would anybody want to do anything less?
Yeah. And also, why would you want to judge people too?
Yeah, and who are you to judge in the same time?
Exactly. Yeah, none of us are perfect. And the thing that I always try to do, and if you guys want to try to not judge people as much, because it's something I've worked on with myself, I know you've worked on as well.
Yeah.
I want to love and accept people more. Is go back to the fact that, once again, Lauren just said, is everybody is doing the best with what they have. Even if it doesn't seem like they are, if they could do better, they would be doing better.
Yeah.
And I think one of the important things to realize is going back to the whole thing of having worked with so many people over this time, try to look at everybody as just a child in a grown-up's body and
That's
realize
what they are.
Yeah. I realized what happened. We were driving the other day and we were in LA, and I saw a homeless lady that was, definitely on drugs and, leaned over and I was like, man, she was 40 years old, 30 years old. I don't know how old she was. And I was like, man, what happened to that little girl? And if you can start to see people in that way versus not the adult that's in front of you, when you see a very aggressive guy that's like an asshole, what you're seeing is a kid who's really scared and something happened that made him he's just a little boy that's wounded and hasn't grown out of it. And he hasn't been accepted. He hasn't been able to figure out, he hasn't seen acceptance from other people. He hasn't seen acceptance to figure out how to accept himself and how to start loving himself. Yeah. And I think if people just want to develop a deeper relationship with everyone around them, but also specifically someone that they're in a relationship with, it's like, hey, yeah, this is a little girl, a little boy that's still just trying their best, because nobody in this world has it figured out. Everyone is just bumping into walls in the dark trying to figure out what the hell they're supposed to do in this life. And the more that you can start to see people from that perspective, I think it makes it a whole lot easier to accept people. And when you can accept people, you can love people.
Right. Well, because your perception is your reality. And when your perception is shaped from a completely different set of experiences, then you can start to understand why someone else's perception is, everybody's going to have a wildly different one. Yeah. And that allows for more empathy for people, because you don't have to understand why someone's acting the way that they are, but you can be understanding and hold compassion for them, knowing that you truly just don't know what they're going through. And it's okay. You don't have to. Sure.
You don't have to know everything that's going on. So then let's wrap it up with this. Let me ask you the question that we started off with in the title of this episode. Give me a short answer. What is love?
Oh, what is love? I feel like love is when you can get down to the true version of yourself and show kindness and compassion and care for someone else and yourself.
I would agree with you. I would say love is the state that is natural for all of us when we can get past the judgment of ourselves and the judgment of others. Nice.
I like that. That's a good one.
All right, everybody. That's what we got for you for today. If you love this episode, please do me a favor. Share it on your Instagram stories. Tag me in it, Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. You can tag Lauren in it too. She is on Instagram. It is Lauren Pena Dial. And if you guys want us to keep doing episodes like this, if you have any questions that you want us to answer, whether that be with relationships, love, life, dogs, spiritual development, any of those things. Lauren is also a coach and has been a coach now for 4 years and has her own clients and all of that as well. You can go to askrobandlauren.com and you can just put your questions there. And hopefully we can do more of these. And I just want to give you guys a different perspective. Instead of just me being the guy who's teaching directly to you all the time, I want to see if I can, give you some other perspectives and kind of see behind the scenes of what's going on in my mind, what's going on in my life, what's going on in my relationships. And once again, it's askrobandlauren.com. And I'll just say this, the more detailed your question, the more thorough your question, the more thorough our answers can be. So if you can give us some more context, that would help, whatever it might be. So that's what we got for you for today. I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission, make somebody else's day better. We appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
We hope that you have an amazing day. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. If you love this video, YouTube thinks you're really going to enjoy watching this one right here. And if you want to see more of these, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more episodes. Welcome to today's episode of the Mindset Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Dial. Today, we're going to be talking about some really fun stuff. We're going to be talking about dying with regret. We're going to talk about dying with regret so that you don't have to. because the last thing I want you to do is get to the end of your life. I would say one of the main reasons why I create this podcast episode is so that when you get to the end of your life, you don't die with regret. Hopefully, I give you some tips and tricks and ways to understand yourself better so that you can stop holding yourself back so that you can create the life that you want. And when you look at it, maybe you've heard me talk about this before, but the number one regret of people who are dying, when they do regret, is that I wish I lived a life that was true to myself and not the life that others expected of me. And so we're going to dive into that one specifically in a couple different pieces of that one. But that comes from a lady who wrote a book called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. And the number one regret that she found is when people were on their deathbeds and they had regrets, the number one regret was that I wish I lived a life that was true to myself and not the life that others expected of me. And that really breaks it down into 2 pieces from one regret. We're going to go through both of them. The first one is people's need for acceptance, right? So we'll cover the first one, then we'll go into the second one, which is your need for acceptance is one of the things that will make you regret at the end of your life, wishing that you would have done something that was true to yourself and not what other people expected of you. Because from a young age, we develop a personal reality. And that personal reality that we create can be called a personality, right? And so you know this if you've been listening for a while. Personality, the Greek word for personality, it comes from the Greek root persona. In the Greek theatrical days, the persona was the mask that people would wear on stage. And so your personality, who you think that you are, this thing that you develop from a young age, is really just this character that you have made yourself into. And you have made yourself into a character to be who your parents want you to be who society wants you to be who people will love, to be who, if you're attracted to women, to be the person that women are attracted to. If you're attracted to men, to be the person that men are attracted to. And so we build ourselves into who we think people want us to be, and we actually just lose ourselves. And so from a young age, we develop this personality. And we're told how we're supposed to act when we're young, what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to be, and what we really do. And I don't know if there's a way, for years and years and years and years, probably 15 years, I've been thinking, is there a way to raise a perfect child, to not give them any trauma, to not have them, break away from their true selves, to try to be someone else and develop a paradigm and a personality around the way that the world is? And I'll be honest with you, I haven't found the way to do it. And I think it's just part of the spiritual journey of being a human, is you must lose yourself fully to decide this isn't who I want to be. And then you start to find yourself. It's the reason why people have quarter life crises, midlife crises, because they agreed and did what they thought everyone wanted them to do. They did what society wanted them to do because they wanted to be accepted. And then they wake up one day at 40, 45, 50 years old and they're like, what the fuck have I done with my life? Whose life is this? I didn't want this life. I didn't want this job. I didn't want to get that degree. I didn't want to go to that college. I don't even know if I wanted to marry that person. I don't know if I want to live in this town. And people wake up and they're like, who am I? This isn't who I've always, this is just a fake person. This is a character I've been playing. And it's all because, one of the reasons why is because it goes back to our need for acceptance. We want to be accepted. And it's like Jim Carrey's famous quote where he says, your need for acceptance will make you invisible in this world. Think about that one for a second. Your need for acceptance can make you invisible. And you weren't born to just be the same as everybody else. Your need for acceptance will make you invisible in this world. And I get it. We feel like we need to be accepted. When we look back to a couple 100,000 years ago with our cavemen and cavewomen ancestors, we needed to be accepted into the tribe because not being in the tribe meant absolute death. There was no way to survive without the tribe 200,000 years ago. But it's not 200,000 years ago. It's modern day. You don't have to be in the tribe. You want to be around people. You want to be around people that you love and stuff. But you really have to ask yourself, like, am I changing myself for other people? I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was Rick Rubin. He has a new book that's out, and he was in the middle of being interviewed. And in the middle of the interview, he's talking, and he says, hey, it's kind of cold in here. Could you turn the air off? And they pause him, and the guy who's interviewing him is like, I really respect you for that, because I don't think that I'm the type of person to be able to say that. And he's like, why is that? He's like, I would fear that if I asked you to turn the air off, that you wouldn't like me as much. Like maybe you're hot, maybe you run hot. And by me turning the air off, then I'm, making you not like me as much. And Rick Rubin said something I thought was amazing. I think every person should write it down, because if you can live your life with this viewpoint of the world, well, I don't think you're going to die with the need for other people's approval. And what he says is, he's like, because I just want you, the guy who was interviewing Rick Rubin was like, I just want everyone to like me. And he goes, I don't care if you like me. I want you to like me, but I will not change myself for you to like me. And I was like, those 3 sentences, if everybody could get that tattooed on their face, I think so many people would have so much better lives, because we just are dying for other people's acceptance. So he said, I don't need you to like me. I want you to like me, but I won't change myself in order for you to like me. And I think that those 3 sentences just really wrap up. We do want to be loved. We do want to be accepted, right? But I'm not going to change myself if I'm not hurting anybody. Why would I try to fit into the box that you want me to fit in, right? And so we're taught how to fit in when we're younger. And then at some point in time, we have to wake up and realize that there are some aspects of ourselves that we love, and there are some aspects of ourselves that we need to change. Some people become bullies as they get older. Some people become victims as they get older. Do you want to stay that way? Do you want to change? You're growing up, you're told what college to go to sometimes. You're told what degree to get, what job to get, to make your parents feel a certain way. And then you wake up, you're 45 years old, and you feel like you're too far down the road, you can't turn back now. Too much time has been invested. I get messages all the time from people that are in their 40s, like 45 years old, and they're like, Rob, I went to school, I got this degree, I got this job when I was 22, and I've been in this industry for 23 years. I don't want to be here anymore, but I feel like I've invested too much time and I can't leave now. And I'm like, you're 45 years old. 45. Like if you just live to the average age, which I believe is around 72, you have to realize you have another 27 years that you're going to be living. So because you invested 23 years into something, you're going to hate the next 27 years of your life because you're quote unquote too far down the road. What if you live to 100 years old? You still have 55 more years. If you live to 100 years old, you're not even halfway through your life if you're 45. So you're telling me because you invested a little bit of time, you're just going to continue down this road where you freaking hate what you do and you hate the life that you built? That's dumb. You got to wake up one day and be like, what makes me happy? What is it that I want to do with myself? So that's the first piece of that need that we really have, is that, my number one regret is that I wish I lived a life that was true to myself and not what other people expected of me. And the first reason why that is there is because we feel like we need to be accepted. And the second reason why, and this is a very important reason and hopefully a wake-up call for a lot of people, is that people don't know who they truly are. And because they don't know who they truly are, they don't know what they truly want. You think you know who you are. I'm here to tell you that you don't. You kind of know who you are. But one of the crazy things, I used to hear it all the time when I worked with people one-on-one, and I used to give them journaling lessons, and we would, journaling assignments and all that stuff. And they come back, and after a few months of working with me, and this isn't like me talking about how great I am, but this could be with anybody once someone starts going on a self-development journey, is they would always say, I thought I knew myself, and I realized I didn't know myself for the longest time. I thought I knew who I was, but now I'm realizing I'm somebody else. I'm realizing who I truly am. Like, rarely do we ask ourselves, rarely do we stop and ask ourselves, what do I want? What do I want? And really figure that out. What do you want? What do you want from your life? A lot of times we don't know what we want, but we sure as hell don't know what we don't want, or do know what we don't want. And then we can start to kind of go on the path of self-discovery. What is it that I want? And then what's crazy about it is you might know what you want, but you still might not be going for it. The hell are you doing then? So we live a life based off of what we think other people want from us. One of the scariest moments of my life was deciding that I was going to leave a job where I was making over 6 figures salary plus commission at 26 years old. I was making that money, and then leaving that job at 29, and I was just terrified. And I remember after I left, because I really wanted to follow my passion, which is this thing that I do now. This was back in November 2015 is when this all happened. And I was so terrified of what might happen, I started thinking to myself, after I quit and I left that job, started thinking to myself, oh my God, I might have to get another job. Like I just got a brand new house 4 months ago. I got to pay my mortgage. I have bills I have to pay. I have things I have to do. And I had some money saved up and everything, but I started thinking like, I'm terrified. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make money. And a few weeks later, about 3 weeks later, I was at my sister's house, and my sister brought out this box, and she was like, hey, have you ever seen these things from Dad? And I was like, no, and I don't think so. And there's like his glasses, there's his watch, there's all these different things, books, like t-shirts, all of this stuff. And there was all these letters. I don't talk about it a whole lot, but one of the things, my dad was in jail when I was a kid for getting too many DUIs. And so he would write us letters. And so he wrote a letter to my sister on her 21st her 19th birthday. He wrote her a letter, and it was, I read through the whole letter. It was all nice. And then the very last line of the letter said, I hope you live your life with courage, love, and laughter. And I was reading it, and it was like that line and the thing that was written to my sister, 15 years prior, that line, I feel like was written for me to read at that moment, because I was so terrified that I wouldn't be able to pay my bills that I was about to give up on my passion to go back to working for someone else so that I can make money so I could pay my bills, and then go back to doing what I don't want to do and not following the life that I truly wanted to live. And I was scared, right? That was the main piece of it. And in that letter, it said, live your life with courage first. It said courage, love, and laughter. And so for those of you guys, it's funny because I can go into Google and I can type in Rob Dial. And one of the things that always pops up is Rob Dial tattoo. So it seems like people are Googling my tattoo because I've talked about this a couple times, but it's on my left arm, and it's my first tattoo that I ever got. And it says, it's in my dad's handwriting, and it's blown up on my arm, and it says, live your life with courage, love, and laughter, because it was like the message I needed to hear. And I was like, I'm going to get this fucking tattooed on my body, because then I can't give up on this dream. I can't go back to what I was doing, because if I have this tattoo, I'm going to have this tattoo forever. And so if I'm going to really step in and fully commit to doing this podcasting thing, to being somebody who talks about mindset, to growing a following, to trying to impact people, to coach people, I'm going to have to go all in. And getting a tattoo is pretty all in. And so I got that tattoo to remind me to be courageous when I felt fearful, right? And really what it came down to is I forced myself out of the company. I was afraid, and then I just forced myself to take more action, because that was what I wanted. Now, what I did is not necessarily what you should do or what you might want to do, but what do you want? Like, if money were no object, what would you be doing? What is it that makes you feel the most alive? Like, if your soul could smile, what makes your soul smile? Do you know? If you do, follow it. Maybe you can make money doing it. Maybe you can't. If you can't make money doing it, how could you figure out a way to make money, pay your bills, and then spend the majority of your time that you possibly can when you're awake following that thing that really makes you happy? If you don't know what it is, search for it. Find it. I always say, like, it's okay not to know your true purpose right now. But if you now are sitting here right now and you know you don't know your true purpose, it is not okay to not be in constant search for it. So it's okay not to know your true purpose, but it's not okay not to be in constant search for it. You have to go find it. You have to figure out what it is, because there is a true purpose. There is something that really makes you come alive. And especially if you know what it is, and you're not following it, I love this phrase. And I heard somebody say something like this before. There's no exact quote, but when you find your purpose in life, when you find your purpose in life, if you don't follow your purpose will eventually destroy you, because you can't stop thinking about it. And your soul's going to start dying and slowly feel like it's withering away, like I felt like I was doing. When I knew that this podcast and doing what I'm doing now was like the reason why I'm alive, and I kept working the other job, I literally started to get more and more depressed doing it, because it was starting to destroy me, that I was not putting all of my effort into growing this thing, right? You might be 40 years old now and feel like you've gone too far down the road, but people are living to 85, 90, 100, 110 years old. Very often, you're not even halfway through your life. It's time for you to figure out what it is that you want. Stop paying attention to what other people say about you. And there's not regret when you get to the end of your life. The number one regret is that I wish I lived a life that was true to myself. And there's two pieces of that. Number one, your need for acceptance. And number two, you don't know who you truly are and what you want. So go on this journey of self-discovery, figure out who you truly are, what you truly want, and then spend your time and energy following that, so that you don't get to the end of your life and regret your life. So That's what I got for you. If you love this episode, please do me a favor. If this impacted you, there's probably other people out there in this world that it impacts as well. So do me a favor. Go ahead and take a screenshot of it, take a video of you listening to it somewhere, whatever it might be, and share it on Instagram stories and tag me in it, Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. And with that, I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make somebody else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. And let's break it down. I want you to understand that the most dangerous lie that humanity has ever been told is a lie that's woven into your breakfast cereal, that's woven into your Instagram feed, into your childhood report cards, into your quote unquote harmless TV shows, and even your well-meaning conversations with your family. And the lie is this: you are not enough. You're not smart enough. You're not thin enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not rich enough. You're not manly enough or womanly enough. You're not worthy of love or safety or freedom until you prove it, or until you earn it in some sort of way, or until you buy it. And we are being raised by people who have never felt like they are enough. So of course, we're raised to believe the same thing as well. And here's the kicker of all of it. It's a lie. It was never true. And it is the great gaslight of humanity, I guess you could say, more than anything else. From the moment that you are born, the world really starts training us to forget who you are. And let's be really honest, like, you're fed formulas instead of learning how to trust your intuition. You're graded in school and labeled and put into some sort of box, and you're told that you need to act a certain way and stay inside the lines. You're shown ads on TV and in magazines and everywhere that you look that quietly whisper, you're not good enough. You need to fix yourself. You're broken. Buy here and it'll make you feel better. And then you get handed a phone at some point in time in your life, and suddenly your worth is now determined by likes and shares and comments and followers. And then you're surrounded by junk food and junk content and junk values all over the place. And it's all designed, without being like a conspiracy theorist in any sort of way, it's all designed to do one thing. It's to distract you from the innate power that lives inside of you. Because a distracted, undernourished, emotionally confused human is very easy to control. And we will be right back. Hey, if you've ever wanted to be coached personally by me, right now is your chance. I just opened the doors to Mindset 2.0, which is a 12-week system that's designed to help you finally break free from procrastination, to stop overthinking, stop holding yourself back, so that you can create the life that you want. But the doors are going to close in just a few days, and the first few people who join are going to get a massive discount plus access to exclusive bonuses that I've never put out before. And so if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. All you need to do is go to coachwithrob.com right now. Once again, coachwithrob.com, or you can click the link that's down in the description, and I'll see you on the inside. And now back to the show. I'm not positive of this, but I don't think this is done on purpose. I don't think there's any evil overlord that's sitting there trying to do all of this. I think that we're all just so lost in our society that everything in our society is built by other people who are lost, which only perpetuates the being lostness, which is probably just a word I made up. It's kind of like the blind leading the blind. And so it's kind of like we have this whole thing of just a whole bunch of people not being enough. Now, there is the exploitation of I'm not enough. There is definitely 100% the exploitation of psychologists and advertisements knowing that the core feeling that people have is I'm not enough. It's kind of like a I'm not enough industrial complex. There's an entire economy, most of the economy, that is built on your self-doubt. Just think about that for a second. Companies make money by making you feel like you're not enough. They don't make money if you realize that you're already whole. They don't win unless you decide that you're going to be like, I don't know if I trust myself. I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know if I'm smart enough. That's when they win. They don't win if you do trust yourself. They need you to be insecure so that you can keep buying solutions to a problem that they probably invented in the first place. If you don't believe me, there's a really interesting documentary that you should watch. It's on YouTube. It's called The Century of Self. And it starts off the first, I think it's about 4 hours long. It's long, but the first hour is mostly about this guy who's a guy named Edward Bernays. He was the nephew of Sigmund Freud, and he used his uncle's psychology to get people to buy. Because before the 1920s, people bought things for logic. They bought something because they needed it. Oh, I'm not able to farm as fast as I need to. I'm going to buy a tractor. And so Bernays took his uncle's psychology and put it into advertisements. He made advertisements make people desire products that they didn't need. And he basically learned through, psychology how to exploit humans so that they didn't feel like they were enough until they bought his products. I'll give you an example of one of them. And this is just a real quick example of how human psychology is exploited in many different ways. He had this thing that happened, and it was called torches of freedom. And, the problem with the early 1920s, the problem for smoking companies, cigarettes and everything, was smoking was considered really taboo for women in the 1920s. But these smoking companies, cigarettes, they went, well, hey, if we're only selling to men, like we're missing another half of the market. We could double our revenue if we could just get women to smoke. So Bernays came in, they hired him, and he reframed cigarettes. Instead of being like something that only men do, he reframed them as a symbol for female empowerment. And so what he did was he hired debutantes to march in the 1929 Easter parade in New York City. And then what they did at one point in time is they all lit cigarettes as an act of protest because he knew that the newspapers would pick up the story. So the newspapers all picked up the story. These debutantes in the New York, Easter parade are all smoking, and they called them torches of freedom. Women are going to proclaim if men are doing it, then we can do it too. And then what happened? Women started smoking in public, associating cigarettes with equality and rebellion. Psychological hook, cigarettes equal power, independence, and defiance of the patriarchy. He was able to basically use psychology to get this to happen. Another thing that he did as well is, cars used to be symbols of like, hey, you only bought a car when you needed transportation. And so he started working with car companies and advised car companies to market cars not for transportation, but as symbols of status and sexuality. And so cars became emotionally charged products that signaled success for men. And so the psychological hook that he uses, car equals confidence, equals sexual power, equals status. When he used to just be like, hey, I need transportation, I'm going to buy a car. And so he was able to use psychology. This was 100 years ago. What do you think has happened over the past 100 years as far as exploiting how companies are selling their products to you? And look, I want you to understand this as I'm talking about this. The reason why I'm talking about this today is I'm not coming at you with like a tinfoil hat. I'm coming at you really wanting you to see all of the stuff that's kind of meant to keep you down. And I want you to be able to start looking at these things and freeing yourself from it. When you look at like processed food, it's chemically designed to light up your brain and slow your body down. A person that's addicted to food is more like food that's more chemicals than it is food, isn't focusing on their greatness. They're slowed down mentally, physically. They're not going to step into their power. We also have media that feeds outrage and never has any sort of solution. So the media keeps you distracted and it keeps you mad. So therefore, you're not thinking about your own personal power that you have either. Now we have social media algorithms that reward comparison, not connection. Social media is designed to keep you addicted. If your mind is addicted to looking at a screen 2 inches from your face, well, then you're not going to be thinking about how you can be powerful and how you can change the world and the amazing things that you can do. You look at like wellness industries that create new flaws and new fixes. There always seems to be something wrong with you. You ever notice that? New thing that needs to be fixed. And then you look at like politics. Oh, good Lord, right? They keep you so angry at each other that you never actually question the system itself. You're so distracted on us versus them, or about how you were wronged or other people are wrong, that you don't ever have time to take a step back and remember how powerful of a being you actually are. It's a game and most people don't even realize they're playing it. And so the thing that I really want you to understand is that you are more powerful than you can actually understand. Not in a cheesy like Pinterest quote kind of way. I'm talking about it scares the shit out of you, in me, and every other person. It's terrifying. It's earth-shifting. It's that kind of way is what I'm talking about. Your thoughts can rewire your brain. Your words can change your body chemistry. Your focus can change your literal reality that's out in front of you. And your presence with your children and other people can heal generational pain. This isn't like woo-woo. This is science. It's universal law. You're a walking supercomputer made of stardust and consciousness, running on belief and thoughts. And the moment that you stop outsourcing your worth to other people is the moment that you remember who you are. The whole illusion falls apart when you realize how powerful you are. You don't give a about social media anymore. You don't want to play the games of politics because you're so far above them that you can go out and change the world instead of expecting some other person who doesn't care about you or know you in the first place and is really just trying to get your vote so that they can get themselves further ahead. You don't care about them because you're so far past them that you're the one that's going to change the world, not some random person that's not going to change the world at all. And it goes back to that Merriam-Williamson quote, which is our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. So we ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant or gorgeous or talented or fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God, and your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. You're meant to shine as children do. So, it's not just something that's in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we consciously give other people the permission to do so as well. And as we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. That's the entire quote. And that's really what it comes down to is when I say that you're powerful beyond measure, I think most people do kind of have something that lights up inside them like, this feels true, but this also scares the shit out of me. You know, and when you look out at the world doesn't want you to wake up. Politics doesn't want you to wake up. Society doesn't want you to wake up. The government doesn't want you to wake up. Because when you look at an awakened human doesn't buy junk food that they don't need. They don't buy junk that they don't need. They don't numb out on screens for hours a day. They don't obey without question. They don't stay small and quiet. You know, an awakened human, what do? They build movements. They heal trauma. They speak the truth that cracks through status quo. You know, they raise children who remember that they're in their own power, and they break free from a broken system that's trying to keep them down. And that, my friend, is a threat to every single broken institution that our entire lives are built upon. I want you to understand the beautiful thing about this is that you don't need permission to reclaim your power in your own life. You just need to stop believing the lie that you're not good enough. And so let me go through a few different steps I think that could help you if you wanted to kind of start. The first thing that I would recommend, and it's a big undertaking, just so you know, is to start questioning everything. Question your own thoughts. Ask yourself, who told me this? Why do I still believe it? Your beliefs didn't appear out of nowhere. They were shaped by parents and teachers and society and media and religion and everything else. And many of those voices weren't speaking from a place of truth. They were passing down old fear or limiting beliefs or control or dealing with their own unresolved pain. And so begin to start questioning the scripts that you live by. Begin to question the I'm not good enough or the I need to fit in or success looks like this or I'm not worthy of this. You know, does the most powerful version of you believe that? No. So that's a really good question to ask. I'm looking at this. I'm not good enough. Does the most powerful version of me inside of me that I know exists in there somewhere believe that I'm not good enough? You know, and when you start to awaken to this, awakening begins with doubt, not of yourself, but of the conditioning that you have accepted as truth. And this is why it can be hard, you know, when you're doing this is because you're actually like literally pulling up and turning up the bedrock that your life and your belief system has been built upon. And the only way that is really the only way to have real, true, long-lasting change is for you to just tear up the bedrock of the belief system and everything that your life is built upon. So that's step number one, start questioning everything. Step number two, starve the bullshit and feed your brain. You know, turn off the fear machine. Unfollow anything that makes you feel small. Start paying attention to your inputs. Your inputs will always equal your outputs. It's like the phrase, if you go to a garden and you're in front of the garden and you plant strawberry seeds, you would never expect that if you plant strawberry seeds, tomato seeds would grow. That'd be insane. Well, you can't constantly be surrounded by negative people, watch negative news and negative reality TV where people are screaming at each other, and Instagram where you're following people who are negative, and expect that your life is magically just going to start being positive and amazing. Your input will equal your output. Start paying attention and curating your inputs. Like your life depends on it, because it does. Your mind becomes what you feed it. What are you feeding your mind? Every scroll, every headline, every conversation, it either, waters your power or it poisons your power. And the news and all of these things, they all profit from fear. Social media profits from your insecurity and dopamine addiction. Advertising only works if you believe something is missing. So be ruthless about your inputs. Feed your mind with truth, with wisdom, with beauty, with challenge, with ways to become an expanded version of yourself. Only what is good for you. You don't need more motivation. You need less noise and more nourishment for yourself. Your mind isn't broken. It's just been hijacked over the years. All of us are like this. It's your turn to reclaim it. So that's step number 2. Step number 3, also take back your body. Eat real food. Stop eating processed stuff. Breathe deeply. Move your freaking body. Stop being so stagnant. Rest whenever you need it. Remember, the cleaner your vessel, this thing that you live inside of, the cleaner your vessel, the clearer your intuition is, the better your brain works. We've been taught unconsciously to kind of disconnect from our body, to judge it, to punish it, to hate it, to ignore it. But your body's your compass. It holds your emotion. It holds your trauma. It holds your truth. It's how you feel, not just how you think. And so when you're eating processed food and not moving your body and having shallow breath and not getting sun and you're overly stimulated, all of this stuff keeps you numb. It keeps you disembodied in some sort of way. It's easier to manipulate somebody like that. And so reconnect by simplifying, eating whole foods, moving how you need to, and giving your body and your brain deep rest, right? Reawakening your cells in some sort of way. So that's step number 3, reclaim your body. Step number 4, sit with yourself. The truth is not out there. It's already inside of you, buried under all of the noise. So if you need to do meditation or journaling or stillness, all of those things bring you home. Shit, don't even listen to me. Don't trust me. I don't want you to. I want you to go deep within yourself and trust yourself. I don't have the answers for you. I believe you do though. And I just hope that I help you rediscover what your answers are. The world keeps you busy and preoccupied for a reason, because busy people don't think. They don't question. They don't wake up. But when you sit in stillness, then you start to get a little bit discomfort. Like, it'll kind of pop up because you're starting to go, I don't really like this thing that I'm doing. I don't really like this part of my life. I don't really like that this thing's happening. I'm going to question this. I'm going to question that. Beneath all of that, if you have enough stillness, is a lot of clarity. And that clarity can't be taught to you. It can't be found in a book. The answers are within you. Being still is one of the most important things you do. Being still. Stillness isn't lazy. It's sitting there to remember who you are, beyond the roles, beyond the labels, beyond the mask, beyond what you've been told what you are. So get quiet. Be honest with yourself. Everything that you have been seeking in the entire world is already within you, but you just have to slow down and be there and hear it. So that's step number 4. Step number 5 is to speak power to yourself, not shame. Watch your words. Your mouth is a magic wand. Every single sentence is a spell. Stop casting curses on yourself. Start declaring what you want, who you want to be. Be powerful of the way that you think and the way that you speak. Your words shape your reality, not just internally, but also externally as well. And so your nervous system listens and everything else reacts around you. Oh, I'm just tired. I always mess things up. I never do things right. I'm never able to ... These are all spells that you're casting, and you've cast them so many times you forgot that they were just optional. So start speaking with intention. I'm learning. I'm stronger than I thought. I am enough. I'm powerful beyond measure. I'm more powerful than I can even possibly imagine. So use your voice and your thoughts as a tool of creation, not destruction. You are always narrating your story. Choose a story that sets you free, not the one that keeps you trapped. And so you don't need, if you listen to this, a 10-day cleanser to read 20 more books before you wake up to how powerful you are. You just need to decide you're done with the bullshit. Decide that you don't want to be a pawn anymore. Decide to stop living by somebody else's story. Decide to remember that your power that's inside of you isn't something that you earn. It's something that's already there. It's something that you already are. The greatest revolution that you can be a part of in your lifetime is the one where you take your damn power back. But you've got to choose it. So here's my challenge to you right now. Today, in this moment, stop acting like you're powerless. Take a moment, sit in silence, think about how powerful you are, remind yourself about how powerful you are, and start living and acting like you're completely free from everything. That is how you reclaim your power and be the person that you were born to be. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. YouTube thinks, based off of what you've been watching recently, that you should click this video and watch it next. And if you want to subscribe so you don't miss any more videos, which I think that you should, click this button right here. And I want you to think about this. Is it possible to expect something to happen, and just by you expecting it to happen, you make it to happen? It's actually something that's called a Pygmalion effect. It is a psychological phenomenon where whatever you expect of someone, they will create within themselves. So what you expect in others, what you also expect within yourself, you will actually create in others, or you'll create in yourself. And this is super important for parents. It's important for teachers. It's important if you are a manager, a leader in some sort of way, any in work environment, but also any relationship that you have with another person. I'm going to give you a couple studies that have to deal specifically with children, but then I'm also going to give you studies after that that deal specifically with adults. And so when I'm speaking about children, it ain't just children. It's just living, breathing humans. At its core, the Pygmalion effect happens when one person's expectations for another person's behavior actually brings that behavior to reality. And so basically, I expect someone to be a certain way, and they actually will be that way. Where this came from was in 1968, there was a study that was done by Rosenthal and Jacobson. And what happened was they were curious, if we take a group of children and we bring them into a classroom and we tell the teacher something about some of the students, could that change based off of the teacher's expectations? Could that change the actual reality of these children based off of the teacher's expectations of them? So what they did was they took a random group of children and they put them into a classroom for an academic year, and this is an elementary school, for an academic year with a teacher. And what they did was, out of those children, they chose a random group of 20% of them. They were just random. And they called them the bloomers. And they said to the teacher, and the teacher had no idea that this wasn't true, they said, based off of IQ tests, these 20% are the ones that we're calling the bloomers. This is their names, and these are the ones we actually think are going to make the biggest jump based off of what we see in them, the tests that they've gone through, their IQ, that they're going to have the biggest jump this academic year in their studies and their knowledge in their IQ. The only thing about it, though, was this was completely random. This was not based in reality in any sort of way. Then after that year, they brought the students back in and they brought the teacher back in and they looked at all of the students' scores and how they did. The students, the 20% that were the quote unquote bloomers, just the random kids that they chose that were the quote unquote bloomers, those students showed a significant increase in performance over the academic year when compared to the rest of the 80% of the other children. Now, you have to realize this did not come from their innate capabilities. It came from the teacher's expectations and belief in them. And the teachers were told that these kids were smarter. And because the teachers thought these kids are smarter, they are the bloomers, they treated them as such. So their expectations of what they had in their mind ended up dictating their behaviors when associating with these children. So they put more time into them, they challenged them more, they thought more highly of them, and because of all of this, the children thought more highly of themselves. They ended up taking on to being challenged. They started thinking more of themselves, and they started performing way better than all the other children. And those children, the ones that were the quote-unquote bloomers, aka random children that they just call bloomers, had a significant jump in the scores that they had opposed to the rest of the children. And it has nothing to do with their innate capabilities, but the teacher's expectations. This is basically a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so this is really important when you look at it and you realize, okay, for those of you guys that are parents or you want to be parents at some point in time, it's really important to understand the role of your expectations for your children and what becomes of them in their childhood development. When you look in the early childhood development, the Pygmalion effect shows the impact of positive reinforcement and expectations for the children, high expectations for them. When I say high expectations, I want to be very clear on this because I have coached many people who have had, for instance, I've seen a lot of people who have parents who are in the military. And because their parents were in the military, this is a vast generalization, just so you know. But I've seen a lot of people who have parents who are in the military, and because they are taught in the military to be very tough and hard on them and have really high expectations, because that's what the military has for them, they do that to their children. And so when I say high expectations, I don't mean like ridiculously high, like when a child comes home with an A, it's like, why did you not get an A+? Not those type of expectations that then actually lower the child's self-belief, but the expectations of what you actually believe is possible for them, right? If you expect, for instance, that your child is smart and your child is gifted, then there's a much better chance that you're going to interact with them differently. They start to have more self-belief in themselves. They put more effort into it and they actually become smarter. That's actually what happens, because a lot of times what's happening is we as humans get our self-belief and our identity and our perception of ourself from watching other people interact with us. And so, on the other side of that, if you expect that your child is slower because, someone told them that one time, or because they failed one test and you think that they're slower, you will, because of your expectations, treat them differently. You will treat them as such, and they will not advance as quickly as other children. On the other side of that, if you expect that your children are kind and they're sweet, they will be more kind around you. You will be more kind around them. And when they are around, you will be more kind to others to show them exactly how to be kind, because they're looking at you for how to understand how to work with the world. So your expectations of that child will change the way that you interact with them, you interact with the world around them, the way you speak to yourself, the way you speak to others when that child happens to be around, and it will then dictate what becomes of that child. Now, this is really, really important, and that's why it's important to monitor the way that you speak to your children. But, not to the point of just having so much positive affirmation that's the only thing that you say. But it's about, there is obviously a fine line. But also not only just the way you speak to your children, but also the way that you speak to yourself around your children, because your children will learn how to speak to themselves based off of the way you speak to yourself and also the way you speak to them. But also the way that you speak to yourself, but also the way you speak to others around your children. Because children are actually like a sponge. They are unconsciously sensing everything around them, especially the adult around them, their parents' attitudes, and they adjust their own self-concept based off of what they see and the feedback that they receive. So if you look at that, what's a really good way to use this? Well, research has shown that it's super important to praise a child based off of their effort rather than innate ability. That way they learn that effort is the important thing to come in, the reason why is because you can control effort. You can't control innate ability. And so it's important to praise them for their effort so they realize that effort is a big thing to put in. Positive expectations in a child supports their journey in achieving whatever it is that they want in their positive expectations of themselves versus having a negative expectation of themselves. And so it allows them to learn to start to challenge themselves, to accomplish more, and to have a environment where that's something that is praised, is to go for more, to put in the effort, to try to become better, instead of having just lower expectations for a child. Now, obviously, I know every parent's like, I want to have the best expectations for my children. But if you're unaware, you're going to have patterns from your parents and the way that you were parented come in as well. And some of them are good and some of them you want to break. Like for instance, how many of you guys that are listening to the podcast had parents who used negative affirmations to get your friends, their children, to do what they wanted them to do? I remember hearing my friends' parents say stuff like, oh, you'll never amount to anything if you keep doing that. Why can't you be more like your brother? Anybody ever heard their friends' parents say that to them? Why are you always you're so lazy. No one likes a child that behaves like that. Like there's all of these things that parents say, sometimes it's just because it's a pattern they learn from their parents. And sometimes it's because they're trying to get their children to do what they want them to do. You're so lazy is what they'll say, thinking that, if I say you're so lazy, then they're going to get up and they're going to clean their room. No, not necessarily. What you're doing is you're actually deepening that pattern of laziness within the child. So knowing what you know now with the Pygmalion effect, think about how everything that I just said, that we have heard, maybe your parents said it to you, or maybe you heard your friend's parents say it to them, of how that affects a child or even just a person's, adults, a teenager, whatever it might be, self-belief, and could completely change the course of their whole lives based off of that. In this, when you speak negatively about somebody, it's the opposite side of the Pygmalion effect, which is actually called the Golem effect. And so the Golem effect is the negative side of it, which shows that the negative impact on low expectations on a child or another person. So if a parent is very skeptical and they just deal with skepticism, or they have very low expectation of a person or a child, it will lead to poor outcomes for that person. And it's a cycle that's frequently seen in education and occupational settings as well. So the same way that the Pygmalion effect, the teachers, hey, these are the smarter kids. Well, if a teacher, they've actually found based off of studying teachers and their body language of what children they think are smarter, what children they think are dumber. If a teacher thinks that a child is slower or dumb, a lot of times they put less time into them because in their mind, they just have come to the conclusion of what's the point? What's the point? This child's not getting it anyways. And in turn, that child learns and grows less. I've mostly given childhood and children examples, but the exact same thing is true for adults, for your work environment, for your friendships, for your romantic relationships. And the reason why is because I'm going to say what I said before. Most people are so unaware of themselves, even as adults, that they are looking to other people to show them who they are. And some of you guys need to hear this because you're so unaware of yourself that you're looking to other people to show you who you are. And so there's a guy named Sterling Livingston that took the Pygmalion effect and tried it out as management styles with adults in work environments. And he found that it was also true there as well. And so it's a thing that he created and says now it's called Pygmalion in management. And so this is one of the things he actually said, and I'm going to quote him. It says, "Some managers always treat their subordinates in a way that leads to superior performance, but most unintentionally treat their subordinates in a way that leads to lower performance than they are capable of achieving. The way managers treat their subordinates is subtly influenced by what they expect of them. If managers' expectations are high, productivity is likely to be excellent. If the expectations are low, productivity is likely to be poor. It is as though there were a law that caused subordinates' performance to rise and fall to meet the manager's expectations." And so what he basically suggests is that managers often set the performance bar of whoever it is that they're managing or whoever it is they're leading through their own expectations, whether they're aware of it or not. If they have high expectations, not ridiculously high, hey, we're going to sell $12 million this month when you've never cracked 100,000, but higher expectations and true belief in getting there and your people being able to get there, and just in general in your people, high expectations tend to yield higher productivity. Lower expectations stifle people's potential. And so Livingston's analysis shows and highlights the fundamental truth that our reality and people around us, all of this is changeable and it's subject to our own perceptions of the world around us. And so when a manager has high expectations, employees are more productive, they're more committed, they're more innovative. On the other side, when they have low expectations of people or a specific person, there's a massive decrease in the employee's performance and their engagement as well. So when we look at this, basically what it's saying is our expectations of people that are around us, whether that's a child, whether that's an adult, whether that is our friend, whether that is our significant other, what we expect of them is going to change the way that we interact with them. And based off of the way that we interact with them, they are usually going to show up and prove our expectations of them true. So how can we use this? How can we use it to make our own lives better, but also make other people's lives around us better as well? Well, the first thing is this. I recommend that you set high but realistic expectations. So it's really important to believe in the potential of children, of the people who work with you, of your significant other, of your friends. But in these expectations, they need to be attainable but really more than anything else, at the pace of their development if it's a child, or to allow someone to expand themselves a little bit, because you just starts, I believe that you can get there. I know you've never been there before, but I believe that you can get to X amount in sales this month. And so it's important to set realistic, but high but realistic expectations, and to really try to not lie, but try to convey through your words, through your body language, through your belief, the belief of that person, so they can start to believe in themselves more. Because when they do believe in themselves more, they put more work into it. So that's the first thing. Second thing is to provide consistent feedback. Positive reinforcement should be specific and focus on the person's effort. And so when you take this approach, it will build the confidence of the people that you're around, the people that you work with, your children, all of that, so that when they do come up with challenges and they see those challenges in front of them, they don't get crippled by them, but they see them as opportunities to learn and opportunities to grow. So that's the second thing. Number three is, and this is very important, right, is to model the behavior that you want. You can't just tell someone to be something and then not do it yourself. If you're a manager, you can't just tell someone, hey, you need to go work hard and go for this to hit your goals, and then you're clocking out 3 hours before the end of the day and you're showing up late. Like, you need to actually model the behavior that you want. If you're a parent, be the type of person you want your children to be. You can't tell your children to be kind and then be flipping somebody off on the street and your child's watching you do that, right? Or be screaming out the window or throwing your coffee cup behind you to try to land on the car behind you because they cut you off a mile down the road, whatever it might be. You have to model the behavior that you want. You can't just tell someone to be a certain way. So children learn by observing adults. That's why a lot of times, when you get to your 30s, 40s, 50s, you're like, oh my God, I'm so much like my mom. I'm so much like my dad. Because you model what you need, you learn from what is shown to you. So, if you want your children to persevere, to work hard, to be curious, to be kind, to be loving, to be respectful, be that you want to see in your children. Same thing is for managers. How do you want your team members to be? You want them to be hardworking? Be hardworking. You want them to be resilient? Be resilient. You need to embody what you want of that person. And then the last thing is very important, is to create an environment of encouragement. So many of us and so many people that I know and so many people I speak to were raised where parents didn't know anything about psychology. None of them had their psychology degrees, any of that. And so they raised them based off of negative reinforcement. The average child is reprimanded 8 times more than they're praised, which means the average child thinks they're doing something wrong or there's something wrong with them 8 times more than they think there's something right with them. So a lot of parenting in the past has been raising children based off of negative reinforcement. So whether it's at home, whether it's at work, whether it's in the classroom, what we want to do is create an encouraging atmosphere that celebrates small victories, that challenges people to be better, and provides support when someone is challenged, and help them really create a positive self-image of themselves, because whatever someone believes of themselves, they're going to go out and create in the world. And so if we want our children, if we want our people that we lead, if we want our friends, if we want our significant others to be better people, to challenge themselves, to believe in themselves more, we must first embody that and create an environment where that is possible. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. Based off of what you watch, YouTube thinks that you should be clicking this video and watching this one next. And if you want to subscribe so you don't miss any more videos, click that button right there.